God, I love that thing. Now you see what it can do on the vertical. Let's just see what it can do flying in normal flight. Where it can actually, survive coming back in. It's got an inflatable heat shield on the nose right now. The problem is the inflatable heat shield doesn't actually slow it down. It makes it go splat. Oh, that's just the Atlantic Semiclipped. That's just to make, keep people aware of what's going on with all the hurricanes and stuff. By the way, there is a link in my channel for disasterrelief.org. And if you want to help out with any of the recovery efforts from any of these storms, it's to an organization where 90% of whatever you send to them will be distributed to the disaster areas in the forms of truckloads of water, food, supplies, the essentials. They basically they truck all the stuff out there themselves. The 10% goes to the gas and if they need to hire a driver or anything like that. All right, so let's turn our beam power back on here, and we're just going to do a demo of this in horizontal flight, and then we'll get back to our regular mission doing. Because I haven't seen how this thing's going to do in like horizontal flight yet either since the upgrades. Now this thing, I don't even need to put my hands on the controls if I don't want to, but since the power upgrades, if I don't nose it up to about 10 meters, it's going to burn itself up before it even has a chance to get up to full velocity. Level out. There you go. OMS. Drogues might help, Ray. That is an idea. Yeah, exactly. We are currently receiving 1 megajoule of power. Are all the slaves on? Yeah, all the slaves are on. It's just not back close to the power plant anymore, is what it is. Yeah, it's not got a good facing right now because it's still receiving relayed power. That'll change because it's going to change over to another satellite and it'll get full power again. Matter of fact, it's already building its facing factor again. Well, that's on radiator. It should be on radiator. Hit the wrong button. No wonder. I changed them all to radiators instead of being receivers. Now the front parts of the plane have to be radiators because of the fact they can't... Whoa. Torch something off. What was that? Did I leave my gear down? No, just burn it off. Period. So we're going Mach 10 in atmosphere at 19,000 meters. apparently I vaporized the landing gear. That's going to make landing interesting. What I get for not paying attention. We're going Mach 10 in atmosphere, 3,189 meters per second at 30,000 meters. Nosing down. I think we've done something, we broke it because look at the apoapsis height. How can the apoapsis height be negative? I'm sure it's possible, Jade. Why is the apoapsis negative? Something has to be broken with this calculator. Oh, that's why apoapsis is negative. I apparently made it to stellar orbit. That was unexpected. I made it halfway to Duna from atmosphere. Oh, geez. I'm gonna race Ouroboros Station there, apparently. Eve? No, it's going, that orbit's going out. Not down. Eve is here. Duna's here. The apoapsis is between Kerbin and Duna. Yeah, the station's bound for Duna. Those racing it to the station. Yeah, you're right. It probably would be close to Eve. Hey, let's test that out. I'm curious now. I think I got the ultimate satellite launch system if I just toss a small cargo bay on this thing. Or a bearing. Take the cockpit off, put the body behind the bearing. Gone. Loopy Dragon with the Dragon Raid! Welcome aboard, Loopy Loopy. Alright, before we get started, let's get things sorted first. Deploy. 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 Radiator. Deploy. Radiator. Deploy. Turning west. Setting ascent angle for 12 degrees. Angle set, maximizing velocity. You better stay at 12 degrees plane or you're going to smack into a mountain. Yes, the Red Eater wings. They can be either, you can either use them as Red Eaters or you can use them as receivers in Interstellar. I better slow down just a little for this first part. I don't want to incinerate the craft. It's going to full velocity, following orbital path. Watching orbit. Holy cow! That was retrograde, right? Dudes, I went beyond Duna. I'm not even sure how I went beyond Duna, but I went beyond Duna going backwards. I did go retrograde to the sun. Unless... Wait, when we took off we were going retrograde. That means that the only way we could have been going to Duna was I had to have gone so fast that I inverted the orbit and we went out on a retrograde orbit towards Duna on the first time. Holy crap. You remember the first time the orbit was between That must have been what happened because the orbit was less. It wasn't between Urban and Duna. This time we're out beyond Duna. Wow, that is amazing. Now, you know, if I could actually make this a controllable launch system, it would be amazing. Unfortunately, this is very much not a controllable launch system. Yeti, that was from in atmosphere. That was from the Red Baron taking off from the runway. 10 degrees nose up, starting at 100 meters, throttle to the floor, and that's where it took us. This plane's absurd. The only problem is, if it does make it out to Duna or Eve, there is no power there yet. But this just gave me a brilliant idea. What this means is once our new stations are in place at Duna or Eve, if I can calculate an acceleration or an orbit that'll landed it at Eve or Duna, we could take this thing off from atmosphere. It'll fly on its own power just on liftoff to Eve, hit the orbit of Eve, and we can use whatever fuel that we take with us, whether it be compressed air or or liquid LOX or argon and use the thermal engine to actually get it onto Everduna. Or with the... Wow. Yeah, it will be basically a railgun shot to the planets, Jade. It doesn't take 30 kilometers per second just to get to Duna or Eve. It only takes like... I think it's like... to get to Duna, you can actually slingshot around Moon and you don't even burn any Delta V. If you do it right. And to Eve, I think it's like you only need to use about maximum of, well, excluding the 2,000 to orbit for Kerbin. But there's a whole table for Delta V, and it's only like in the number of like thousands. I think the hardest Delta V to get to a planet is like 11 grand to get to the Moa. At Kerbin altitude, T, the velocity around Sun is not very high. It's only about 5 grand or something like that. Let me see what's... We can go to the map mode and they'll probably tell us if I select Kerbin. Alright, so... ocean, atmosphere... Kerbin. Let's see, does it have its orbital velocity? Doesn't have the orbital velocity of Kerbin. Let me see if I can look that up online. Orbital velocity is 9,284 meters per second. So to reverse the orbital velocity of Kerbin, you would need to apply 20,000 meters per second of delta V. Now that's per second. So when you're in flight, and if you're constantly generating power, yeah, it's going to be about 10,000 meters per second. But the thing is, if you get up to say a few hundred meters per second and you're applying that on a constant basis of delta V, you'll hit 9,500 very quickly. When you're going through an atmosphere, you can do that because your fuel is constant. So let's revert to launch, and you're going to see how this works. The thrust to weight ratio is on the order between 25 and 30. And it takes about 5 to 10 minutes. Well, no, it takes about 2 to 3 minutes still. 2 to 3 minutes to escape the atmosphere. During that entire time, the craft is still accelerating. So you got the per second going. So if you're applying 100 delta V per second, every second, over the course of several minutes, it's going to create a phenomenal amount of delta V. And in total, when it tallies. So let's go ahead. We're going to stop here, apply the brakes, turn everything on. Oh wait, wrong button. That's turning it to radiator. Deploy. Deploy. And it's already starting to warm up. Deploy. Deploy. Turn on its radiators. Deploy. Now the reason we turn the ones on the front to radiators is because they're not close enough to the thermoelectric engine on the back to actually provide beam power. So they'd be useless as a beam power receiver. The heat has to be close to its engine. And you don't have to do 6 kilometers per second in atmosphere. You just got to do like a few hundred per second in atmosphere. And by the time you're going really, really, really fast, you're at upper atmosphere. There's practically no resistance. I'm actually getting heat indicators at around 30,000 meters. And just so you know that I am not cheating, oh wait, wrong screen. That's not in settings. That is in here. I better bring the power down. So cheats. See, nothing's on, no cheats. Not incinerating itself. Now I need to get back to a slightly lower altitude because we're going to need the fuel on the runtime. You have to be at really high altitude, Teague. You start off slow at the bottom and accelerate as you get close to the top. So what I do is when I start noticing I'm starting to get heat indicators, I turn the power up, or I turn the power down. And then as I notice they start to ease away, I turn it back up again. I turn on full power about 20,000 meters. All right, here we go. This is the same thing that I just executed. 12 degrees ascent. Now as soon as we start seeing heat indicators, we want to slow the thrust down. PWR is currently approaching 25. We're starting to get heat indicators. We want to throttle back just a little bit. Throttling back up because they're starting to fall again. Oh, we also got some really massive radiators on here. Oh, starting to burn up again. I think I may have waited. Nope. Okay, did not burn ourselves up. I thought with that little pause it might be about to explode. Okay, turning the heat, turning the acceleration back up again. Now we're going Mach 10. Still accelerating. Oh, I forgot to set to follow. The other thing I did is I forgot to set to follow orbit, otherwise we'd probably be much higher. Yeah, I didn't do that right. Do it again. You have to follow the orbit too. If you don't follow the orbit exactly, it's not going to accelerate properly. You have to be contributing directly to the orbit momentum. Part of it's the heat shield on the nose, or the radiator cone on the nose, three graphene radiators on the nose. All of it connected together to try to cool the craft down. You got to pull it just right or you're not going to make it very far. As I said, this is not really a controllable exit vehicle. That's why I don't use it to deliver things. It's just pretty much a Mercedes. It's a toy. Practical applications are limited except for planetary exploration purposes. Okay, deploy, radiator deploy, and radiator deploy. Yes, this is just basic. No, this is infrared. We're not using microwave because the microwave will not make it through the atmosphere. Long infrared only has about a 10%, 8 to 10% absorption rate. Microwave, however, is almost completely absorbed, so it doesn't make a really good power transmitter for in atmosphere. But yeah, it is the beam power system, if that's what you're inquiring. All right, so let's get over here. We're going to do 12 degrees up angle. Pull the gear. By the way, make sure you pull up the gear. You will incinerate them if you don't. Max speed. I'm just going to let it fly this time. Actually, we'll do 15 just to be on the safe side and lock the orbit. Really difficult to control in the initial stages. I may have been, nope, okay, didn't incinerate. Came close. Oh, there went the fins. We did lose the fins. Oh, we're going too fast. Yeah, there's a sweet spot that you have to hit, and if you don't, that happens. So you have to very carefully monitor your heat. I was hoping to throttle back and be okay, but it's got a very specific flat profile if you want to hit orbits like that. Not easy to repeat. Them G's, yeah. Them G's indeed. And we're beaming about, right now, about 5 gigawatts of power is being bounced off a satellite and back to Kerbin surface. If you have a receiver that is bigger than 2 meters in diameter, with a good facing, it'll receive up to 5 gigawatts. That's a lot of heat. Now these wings are about, I think, 3 meters each, and they act as slaves to the main collector here. So technically we have some together around 12 meters of reception room. And that means we definitely get full power. That doesn't increase the power any if you go more than like 3 to 5 meters, but having the extra angling from the extra radiators helps for whenever you're like on the side or something. So you have something receiving on all sides all times. I think one of the reasons that you can get so far going west is that you're actually traveling away from the direction of rotation of the atmosphere as well. That probably helps quite a bit. We'll do 15 meters this time. Maybe that'll keep it from burning up. You're up. Max power, 15 meters. Make sure we're nice and flat as we can. Lock orbit and let it go. You'll find there's a magic number you can hit that should allow it to okay, I'm trying to keep the radiator fins from burning off on the edge here. So we're starting to hit upper atmosphere now, so the fins aren't heating anymore. So they're going to just gain speed, period. Watch the apoapsis. We're now negative. That means that we have definitely entered stellar orbit, and it's probably going to double back on itself. We're probably adding several hundred meters per second right now. We're traveling over Mach 11. What are the angle black? No, that's not tail fins. Those are B9's procedural wings. You know what? This is shallower than most of the other orbits I've done. This may be taking us way out further than what I originally intended. We are beyond Duna, people. We're getting into deep space. That was probably my best atmospheric exit yet. So yeah, these are from B9s. They're procedural parts. I designed them myself. If there is a mod that blackens your craft from re-entry heat, this one will be carbon black. Now, I would take this thing through its full orbit and come back and land it, but that would take a very, very long time to complete. Orbital period is... I don't like that number. And we almost made it to the orbital altitude of Drace. Backwards. No, wait, we're slingshotting forward because of the direction of the Kerbin. Yeah, it would. It would be very cool. Simmer slipped. I want to thank you guys for coming over and watching. Hope you guys are enjoying and being entertained by this craziness as I am. Look at that, it's just rising off Kerbin like a giant bullet. And that's in times 1. Which leads me to wonder. We have another craft that uses thermal power. And I'm wondering how